Have you ever canceled plans at the last minute, felt that tiny wave of relief wash over you, and then immediately wondered, what's wrong with me? Why does staying at home feel so much better than going out, even when you like the people you were supposed to meet? Well, why does the world sometimes act like loving your own space is some kind of personality flaw? We're told that the good life is loud, busy, social, full of events, networking, brunches, late nights, and constant movement. If you're not out there, you're missing out. At least, that's the story. But here's the psychological reality. For many people, staying at home isn't avoidance. It isn't laziness. It isn't social failure. It's regulation. It's restoration. Safety. It's joy. Let me show you what's really happening inside the mind of someone who genuinely loves staying at home. Picture this. It's Friday evening. Your coworkers are heading to a crowded restaurant. Music is loud. The lighting is dim. Conversations overlap like tangled wires. Meanwhile, you're at home in soft lighting, maybe in comfortable clothes, maybe with a cup of tea or your favorite show playing quietly in the background. Your nervous system exhales. Your shoulders drop. You feel like yourself again. Feeling that's not antisocial. That's your brain saying, thank you. Psychologically, home often becomes what researchers call a secure base. It's a concept originally explored in attachment theory, the idea that we all need a safe place from which we can explore the world and to which we can return. For some people, that secure base isn't just a person. It's a space. For walls, a familiar smell, the predictable hum of your own environment. When you love staying at home, you're often someone whose nervous system is highly responsive to stimulation. Crowds, noise, constant social interaction. They're not neutral. They're Studies on introversion and extroversion, including work inspired by psychologist Hans Eysenck, suggest that introverts tend to have higher baseline cortical arousal. In simple terms, your brain is already pretty add too much stimulation, and it tips into overload faster than someone who craves that extra buzz. So when you choose home over the party, you're not rejecting people, you're managing input. Think of your brain like a phone battery. Some people wake up at 40% and need the social charger. Others wake up at 90%, and the world keeps plugging in too many cables. By evening, they're overheating. Staying home is how they cool down, but it goes deeper than introversion. People who love staying at home often have rich internal worlds. They don't experience solitude as emptiness. They experience it as space. Space to think, space to create, space to process. In fact, research on creativity consistently shows that periods of solitude can enhance problem solving and original thinking. When you're alone, your brain's default mode network, the system associated with introspection, imagination, and self-reflection, becomes more active. That's the network that helps you replay conversations, imagine future scenarios, build stories, rethink your goals. It's like your mind's private studio. And some people love spending time there. Now here's where things get interesting. Society tends to equate visibility with value. If you're out, you're living. If you're posting, you're thriving. If you're always available, you're important. So if you prefer quiet nights, you might start to question yourself. Am I boring? Am I missing out? Am I socially behind? But loving home is often about depth over display. When you stay in, you're not necessarily hiding. You might be investing, reading something meaningful, working on a side project, reflecting on your week, or simply allowing your brain to rest, which is not laziness, it's cognitive maintenance. Chronic overstimulation has been linked to increased stress hormones, like cortisol. Constant social comparison, especially online, can quietly chip away at self-esteem. Home can become a psychological filter. It reduces the noise so you can hear your own thoughts again. Of course not. Everyone who stays home does so from a place of strength. Sometimes staying home is fueled by anxiety. Social anxiety, fear of judgment, low self-worth, and that's important to acknowledge with compassion. If the thought of going out fills you with dread because you believe you're not good enough, that's not the same as simply preferring solitude. The difference often lies in emotion. When you cancel plans, do you feel calm and content, or do you feel trapped and ashamed? One comes from alignment. The other comes from fear. People who genuinely love staying at home usually experience it as a choice, not a prison. There's warmth in it, a sense of ownership. This is my space, my rhythm. Let's talk about control. The outside world is unpredictable. Traffic, weather, other people's moods, social dynamics, subtle hierarchies. In friend groups, at home, you control the temperature, the lighting, the noise level. You control who enters your environment and when. For many personalities, especially those who grew up in chaotic or overstimulating environments, control equals safety. Your brain is constantly scanning for threat. It's ancient. It doesn't know the difference between a lion in the grass and an awkward conversation that bruises your ego. Home lowers perceived threat. Your amygdala relaxes. Your body shifts from fight or flight into rest and digest. That shift matters more than we realize. There's also something beautifully honest about people who love staying at home. They often aren't chasing validation through constant activity. They don't need to be seen to feel real. That doesn't mean they don't value relationships. It means they value authenticity over performance. Think about the last time you went out just because you should. You smiled, you laughed, you nodded. But part of you was counting the minutes. Now think about the last time you stayed in by choice. Maybe you rearranged your room, cooked something simple, journaled, or just sat in silence. Which version of you felt more grounded? There's a quiet confidence in knowing what replenishes you. Historically, some of the deepest thinkers were lovers of solitude. Writers, philosophers, inventors, many guarded their alone time fiercely. Not because they hated people, but because they needed space to hear themselves think. Even today, in a world wired for constant connection, many psychologists argue that intentional solitude is essential for emotional regulation and identity formation. When you're always surrounded by others, it's easy to unconsciously mirror them. Their opinions, their energy, their pace. Alone time recalibrates you. It asks, what do I actually think? What do I actually want? For home lovers, that question feels exciting, not scary. And yet, the fear of missing out FOMO can creep in. You see stories online, laughter, group photos. You wonder if you're choosing comfort over growth? But here's a perspective shift. Growth doesn't only happen in crowds. Sometimes it happens in stillness, in self-awareness, in the quiet decision to honor your limits. There's a difference between shrinking your world and choosing your world. People who love staying at home often have a strong inner compass. They don't follow every invitation. They don't attend every event. They curate their experiences. That selectivity can look antisocial from the outside, but psychologically, it's boundary setting. And boundaries are a sign of emotional maturity. Your brain isn't designed for constant stimulation. It's designed for cycles. Engagement and withdrawal. Output and reflection. Socializing in solitude. When you deny yourself the withdrawal phase, burnout follows. Irritability, brain fog, emotional numbness. Home is the reset button. And let's not ignore the simple joy factor. Soft blankets, familiar smells, the absence of social pressure. There's a childlike comfort in being in your own space. It's predictable. And in a chaotic world, predictability feels luxurious. If you love staying at home, maybe you're not boring. Maybe you're attuned to your energy, your thresholds, your inner life. Maybe you understand something that's easy to forget in a hypersocial culture. Peace is not the same as isolation. The key, of course, is balance. If home becomes the only place you feel safe, that might be a gentle signal to expand your comfort zone slowly. Growth still requires some discomfort. But if home is where you recharge so you can show up more fully when you do go out, that's not avoidance. That's strategy. So the next time you choose a quiet evening over a loud one, pause. Before judging yourself, ask, am I hiding or am I honoring myself? There's a big difference. Loving home doesn't mean you hate the world. It means you understand your rhythm within it. And maybe that's the real psychological insight here. The goal isn't to be the most social person in the room. The goal is to know what makes your nervous system feel steady. To know where you think clearly, where you feel most like yourself. For some people, that's in the center of the party. For others, it's on the couch, in comfortable silence, with their thoughts unfolding gently. Neither is superior. Both are human. If you've ever felt a little guilty for preferring your own space, maybe this is your permission to reframe it. Your love of staying at home might not be a weakness. It might be self-knowledge, and self-knowledge is power. I'd love to know, when you stay home, what are you really seeking? Rest? Creativity? Safety? Clarity? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if this helped you see yourself a little more clearly, stay with me. There's a lot more about your mind we can explore together.